Put on a suit. Drink water. Don't drink and drive.
Game over!
Take it light. Okay.
Now you're more fluent.
Mackinac, he got free!
Up, Bears.
So this is really good right here. Absolutely. Let's do it.
Pitch. Swinging a drive towards the gap in right center. It's pretty deep. It's back near the wall. It's gone. It's gone. Francisco Lindor. He may have just outdone him.
All right. Welcome to the All-American Hoops Podcast, episode 45. I'm Chris Driscoll. And obviously, we got a celebratory podcast today. The New York Mets have advanced to the National League Championship Series. We're super hyped about that. But before we start any of that, I'm going to do some cleanup work because you guys know, for those of you loyal watchers, you know that I love to start off every episode with giving off famous players that to wear the jersey number of the episode number. So I want to say, it was about 2 weeks ago from now, was episode 43. That was on a Friday night late, and I completely forgot to come up with the jersey numbers. So I have a couple written down right here. Most of these I looked up, but however, one of them was a great pull for me. So R.A. Dickey is one of them. I'd look him up. I was really ashamed about that. Number two, Troy Polamalu, Pascal Siakam. And one pull, massive pull. I was pretty proud of this one. Addison Reed. He was a shutdown reliever in the 2015 and 16 Mets teams. Then we got episode 44. That was last week, which that was the Mets were playing the elimination game against the Brewers. That was game 3. So we got Jerry West, Hank Aaron, George Gervin, and Pete Maravich, four big ones. And then episode 45 today, we have Donovan Mitchell, Bob Gibson, Pedro Martinez, which, by the way, Pedro and Bob Gibson, two debatably the greatest pitchers of all time. And, of course, Zach Wheeler. We love Zach Wheeler as Mets fans. He kicked our butt in game 1, but however, he's never really spoken ill will about the Mets, so we respect him for that. But yeah, we got an awesome show ahead of us today. We'll be talking about the Mets, as I mentioned earlier. It'll be myself, my younger brother Matt, and Joel Dels from the Pick a Side podcast. John should be here a little bit later. If not, that's completely cool. So we'll be talking about the Mets for a little bit. We'll be talking about they'll maneuver over to basketball. So we'll be so we'll be talking about the GM polls that came out on Monday. I believe that was it was Monday. So it was the best, GMs voted on the best player at each position, all that jazz. They also and then also yesterday, Netflix came out with a documentary of the 5 NBA players of their season. So LeBron James, Jason Tatum, Jimmy Butler, Domantas Sabonis, and Anthony Edwards. So it's good. Yeah. So I watched the first episode last night. So we'll just be taking a little dive into that. But all in all, it's going to be an awesome episode, and we're really excited to go. This is the All-American Hoops Podcast. Welcome to the show. As per usual, I'm joined by my younger brother, Matt Driscoll.
Chris, it's always a pleasure. I'm excited to talk baseball for the first time here. Obviously, a huge win. And whenever Addison Reed is mentioned ever, it turns out to be a great day. So I'm expecting a great show.
Absolutely. And for the second time, we are welcomed by co-host of the Pick a Side podcast, Joel Dels.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys having me on. Chris, I know I've been on once before. Matt, nice to meet you. There's not a lot of times I run across Mets fans. Even being in New Jersey, it's 95% Yankee fans. I have a group chat with my friends from college and high school, and there's 5 of us, and their Yankee chat is 25 deep. So love any chance I get to talk about the Mets.
Absolutely. And I would say, and out of those 5 Mets fans, I'm sure that out of the very few Mets fans that I'm sure that's less than 0.5% of them are also Celtics fans. So always. Yes, we got the best of both worlds there. Awesome show. Yeah, awesome show ahead of us. So, Dels, I'm not sure if you remember this, but when you were on the first time around, it was literally the beginning of the season, and we were just giving our introductions to each other in the pre-show. So, Rivers was running late, so it's just me, you, and John talking. And you literally said, "You said, guys, are we going to win a goddamn game this season?" So, how the tables have turned there, man. Unbelievable. Yeah. Very long way. So, but obviously, as I mentioned in the pre-show, a week ago today, I was riding solo because I was like most of the guests that I wanted to have on were probably watching Game 3 against the Brewers. Which, by the way, how the hell is that a week ago at this point? They played every day since then, so which is unbelievable. Oh, not every day, but they had the one day off, but unbelievable how that happens. Dells, what are your takeaways either from the team or just from the series in general? For what to think about?
It doesn't feel real. Like what I'm experiencing, what we've been experiencing, doesn't feel like it's Mets baseball. Like this is our team. Like Boston, for example, we know going into the year we're going to be great, right? Like we're expecting to win a championship. We know that this team is great. You have Tatum and Brown and all of these dudes. For the Mets coming into this year, my expectation was like maybe we could compete for the wild card, right? Like the ownership, GM, front office, everyone is saying we're another year away until we really compete. So me just having high hopes as a fan, I was thinking maybe we could sneak in as a wild card team. And when we started off 0-5, when we were sitting there at 22-33, I'm like, season's over, right? There's no chance this team does anything. How poorly Lindor started off. I mean, he was batting under 200 for what felt like the first month of the season. I can't believe they're where they're at right now. And a lot of credit to, of course, Lindor, Alonso, like all the dudes who have been playing so well. But more than anything, it's these unsung heroes that's really been the focal point of this team. Sean Manaea, Jose Quintana, Sevy having a bounce back season, Mark Vientos, who's in AAA coming up and batting 400 at 24 years old, Jose Iglesias, like all of these dudes who on day one you expected very little or nothing in case of Jose Iglesias and Vientos who were in the minor leagues. The fact that they're coming up and having some of the most clutch, biggest hits of honestly the last 5 years, right? Since that 2015 run, we have not seen a run like this from this Mets team in a while. And I think what's most exciting is that it just feels sustainable this time, right? Like 2015, it felt like we caught lightning in a bottle with the way Cespedes played at the second half of the year. 2022, of course, we got bounced in the wild card round, but it was an older team. It was relying on older pitchers. This team feels like this is something that's growing because you have Lindor there, who, of course, is the focal point, but you also have these young guys and Mark Vientos and Alvy, who's been struggling, but we know how great he can be. And of course, you have Pete Alonso, who, God willing, can stay a Met for a few more seasons. And this pitching that, felt like a bunch of guys that were kind of on one-year deals all coming together and just playing out of their mind, like one of the best starting pitching staffs left in baseball and one of the best pitching staffs the second half of the year. I can't believe we're here. I can't believe the Mets are playing baseball. It's going to be October 13th on Sunday. It's been such a fun ride, and this has been the most fun team I have seen in my Mets life. It's more fun than that 2015 team for me.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, I'm 22 years old, so in 2015 I was in the 8th grade. So now at 22 I can like fully appreciate a deep playoff run. And how like you said, like with the Celtics, like I expect to make the playoffs every year and I expect to go deep into the playoffs. With the Mets, like this is like unbelievable. Like for this to be the Mets playing, like you said, October 13th on Sunday, to be one of the final 4 teams left. If you told me on, I would say like July 15th that Jose Quintana in a week span was going to pitch in a do or die game with your season on the line and then pitch a week later in a clinching game and shove both games, I would have laughed in your face. He has become unbelievable. He's been shoving for over a month now. And like you said, it's the unsung heroes. Like the pitching staff was just like put together this year, like a couple guys on prove-it deals. Like, oh, Severino can stay healthy. He'll be good. Manaea looked good in the second half against the Giants last year. Jose Quintana, they gave a 2-year deal instead of a 1-year deal. People were like, all right, like Sango was hurt all year. And these guys are wearing the starting pitcher's numbers in eye black now. Like it's truly like Francisco Lindor and the power of friendship is just taking over and just going on a crazy run. This team has been one of the best teams in baseball since June. And it's unbelievable. Like I can't believe what I'm seeing.
Yeah, I do want to talk about Lindor for a little bit because when we had the other co-host or one of the other co-hosts of Pick a Side on, Drew, because like I was wearing this exact hat, and then it was like the day, I think it was either the day of or the day before the All-Star game, in which I said that Lindor was stumped to making the All-Star game, which to this day, it looks worse now than it did back then because he only played better since then. But at the time, it was still robbery that he didn't make the All-Star game. And and yeah, I know that Drew talked about it. You talked about it on the video on the pod last night. He said like, yeah, just the fact that like Lindor is like such an amazing story, just because, yeah, the Mets traded away like two. I don't want to say cornerstone pieces because they're not that good now. But like two like young and up and coming players, like prospects who look promising. Jimenez especially, because he had a great season like the first year there. And they're saying like, okay, maybe do we overpay for them? Actually, no one really thought that we overpaid for them at the time, because we also had Carrasco. But like, yes, we trade for him. Then we signed Lindor to that mega deal. Everyone thinks it's like everyone after year one is saying like, oh, what a joke. 10 more years of this. Plays. This was hands down. Excuse me. This was hands down his best year, but he still played awesome 2 years before this. So it's great that seeing Lindor finally get his flowers. Like one of the clutchest players in the league, one of the most well put together in the league. I think probably, if you think of, I think he's debatably a 5'2" athlete. Like unless you take away his throwing, he doesn't really have that strong of an arm. But 5'2" player, again at the very least 4'2" player. Like Ohtani, Judge, Soto. I don't know if there's any other player taking over Francisco Lindor now. He is unbelievable. Maybe I guess Tatis too. Just unbelievable player, and the face of the franchise. And I'm certainly not opposed to throwing the C on the jersey, even though it really doesn't seem like they do that anymore, which I'm completely fine with. But yeah, like I'm totally on board with him earning the captain's title.
Yeah, he deserves it. I hope Cohen, new management comes in, new ownership. Of course, been there for a few years, but I feel like if anyone does it, it's Cohen, because number one, he's a fan of the Mets, right? Like we knew this coming in. That's why I was so excited to get Cohen, because of course having like a $9 billion net worth is great, so you could sign anybody. But he also loved the Mets, and you could tell just what he's done with this club. The fact that they embrace Grimace, they embrace OMG, they embrace all of these stupid, dumb things that don't really matter, but to fans, like, this is what the seasons has become, right? Like this is all of the weird stuff that's happened has boosted the Mets for whatever reason, for one way or another. But they've come together, and JD Martinez said it, early in the season, like, we're terrible. Nobody thinks we're going to do anything. So why not embrace that and just, build on it? And that's what they've done. So beating Philly, first of all, crazy, right? Like they were like favorites coming into this, right? Like it feels so much sweeter to beat Philly. That I like more than any team across any sport. It's the Phillies I hate the most. Going back to the Chase Utley days, like Jimmy Rollins, I hated them. I still hate them. If they're the worst team in the MLB, I'll still hate them. So it felt great to beat them. And the other player I want to shout out, I can't believe how good David Peterson is. I was someone who a year ago, 2 years ago, thought David Peterson was like one of the worst pitchers in the MLB, even though his numbers were actually like kind of decent, right? He was hovering like a 4 ERA, but he's like a godsend. If it wasn't for David Peterson, we would not be in this situation. He is the pitcher I trust the most coming out of the bullpen, and it's not even close. Edwin Diaz scares the shit out of me every single time he reaches the mound. Reed Garrett is solid, right? I'm really excited to see, with a couple of days rest, hopefully, Garrett and Maton and Diaz get back to their proper form. But man, David Peterson, he's able to just come out of the bullpen, give you 2 or 3 innings of just elite pitching, no earned runs. He's going up there, eating innings, striking guys out, not letting any guys on base, really, not walking a bunch of guys, not letting a lot of hard hits. He's been the unsung hero of all of this, because we shout Lindor and Vientos in the starting pitching. But if he doesn't eat up those middle innings to get to the 8th and the 9th inning while you still have a lead, we wouldn't be here. I can't believe the way his career has turned around this season, from being a guy that's like hovering around AAA MLB to being one of the most important pieces in an NLCS and hopefully World Series run.
Yeah, he is. I can't believe how good David Peterson is this year. That's a great point. Like I even forgot to talk about him in the unsung heroes. Last year, at one point, I don't know what he ended with, but he had like an 8 ERA. It was like when he pitched games, the Mets were going to lose. He was horrible last year. This year, he's been so good. And the bullpen recently, like, there's like 2 guys I trust. It's like Ryan Stanek, Reed Garrett, and now David Peterson.
I trust Ryan Stanek. How crazy does that sound?
Yeah, that's great. He was horrible when he first came here. But I want to. What you mentioned about Steve Cohen, like I saw a tweet saying it was like, we went from Zach Wheeler having to buy his family playoff tickets under the Wilpons, and now there's Grimace taking a picture with Steve Cohen outside the stadium while there's like a DJ in the background and all different changes to Citi Field, and there's a plan to put like bars and casinos and restaurants by Citi Field. Steve Cohen is exactly what I would who I would be and what I would do if I was a billionaire. If you're not a billionaire trying to buy your favorite sports team, why have all that money? He's a fan and he truly cares. And that's like a crucial part of being a successful team is having ownership that cares. It makes such an impact. He already has the same amount of playoff appearances, I believe, that the Wilpons have. I think the Wilpons had 2. I think it was
06 and 15.
06 and 15. Now 22 and I guess 2016 if you count the wild card. So 22 and 24.
Mhm.
But it's truly unbelievable. It's truly crazy how much the franchise has turned around in such a short time. It's awesome. It's so
It is
cool.
awesome. Yeah. And great timing now. We're very happy to add on the unofficial host to the show. We got our brother John Driscoll.
Hey, what's up, fellas? Matt, Chris, hey, Dels, what's going on?
What's going on, man?
John, welcome.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on,
Allegation,
AH. I was sitting in the lobby for a little bit there, and I heard you guys talking about the best baseball team in New York. It's a pleasure to be on.
Absolutely. Yeah. Before I added on, just a couple more things. John, why don't you want to give like a monologue on just how you're feeling about the team now? Yeah, because that's pretty much just what we've been doing. Like nothing really insightful.
I think I sent a text to my friends in like April that this was like my least favorite Mets team of all time, and now this is my favorite Mets team of all time. There's too much to say, and I'm sure you guys touched on a lot of great points. Steve Cohen, David Stearns, Carlos Mendoza, Francisco Lindor, those guys have changed my life completely. I think that, especially with baseball playoffs, because when you talk about like the NBA, usually like better teams make those deep playoff runs. With baseball, I think it's really just the hottest team. If you catch fire at the right time, then you can make a run, and you're kind of seeing that with the Mets now. And let's just keep it going. I mean, I don't know if you guys talked about whether it's Padres, Dodgers. Frankly, I don't care. Bring it on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And John, I reminded Dells. I remember the first time that Dells was on the show. I remember in the pre-show, the three of us were talking about like we said, like, are we going to win a goddamn game this year? So, yeah, so it's just unbelievable what 6 months can span on. So, just a couple more things I wanted to touch on before we moved on to the GM poll. I guess three more things actually. So first off, game one, who are you starting game one?
Manaya.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or Senga.
Yeah, I was going to say
Senga.
I was going to say Senga.
Maybe Senga for 3 and then like McGill or something like that. I don't know. Peterson,
either McGill or because what did Peterson have? Did he have 20 yesterday? 23 days rest.
3 innings.
Yeah, that should be fine. So I'm thinking probably Senga and Peterson for game one. If Peterson can get if Senga can get like 4 innings, that would be awesome. I don't know how much they're going to push him. Hopefully more than the 2. I guess Manaya game 3, Sevi Manaya game 2, Sevi game 3, Quintana 4. So that would be more than idea. And then if they could pick off 2 of those, which game 4 which I'd feel in the game 4, I would be riding the pod solo again for that one, but that's okay. And then another roster decision to make. Jeff McNeil is likely going to be taken off the IL to rejoin the team. Who's unfortunately going to have to sacrifice their spot on the team? I'm wondering.
Probably Acuna.
Yeah.
Probably. Unfortunately, because he has honestly coming into the series or coming into the playoffs. I thought that they would move JD/Winker out of the DH spot. I thought Vientos move at DH, Iglesias at third, Acuna at second, because at the end of the year he was playing out of his mind. Like he was very like low key. Lindor goes out, Acuna comes in, and he's basically putting up Lindor numbers, right? Like he's hitting home runs damn near every night. He's batting 300, but he's just coming for like defensive stops, right? He had like an at bat yesterday and didn't look good at all. I mean, he's still super young. It's hard to put him in this moment and expect anything. So I would assume he's the one that gets cut out of the bunch.
I think
I thought that Acuna would be like more. I thought they were going to use him like on the base paths more. Like if JD got on like late and they knew, but it didn't really like happen that often. It wasn't as frequent, and I think like that's where his value is. But like a late inning like pinch hit from McNeil is much more valuable than like Acuna just like subbing in.
Would you guys put McNeil at second, move Iglesias to third, and then have Vientos DH, and then just cut out Winker or Martinez?
I would love that. I gotta see how McNeil looks though, because like what's been like 2 months at this point.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he played some like fall league, right? They said they approved him for that, so he got like a couple at bats, but
Yeah,
it's
the
hard because
Arizona
if you're going to
Fall.
go from not playing any baseball to the NLCS, right? You're asking a lot, but I mean, Jeff's such a vet, and he's not like most of the time he's just trying to put the bat to the ball, right? He's never trying to do too much, so I trust him there.
Yeah.
But I would like to see it
Mhm.
because when Jeff was on at the end of the season, like he was playing as good as anybody on the team.
Right. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that in 2016, Kyle Schwarber missed like most of the season, and then they plugged him in the DH role in the World Series. So I think that was Schwarber. I could be wrong though.
Yeah, it was.
It was right. Yeah, so this isn't going to happen, but like, and I don't mean to go negative here, just because it just feels like this is awesome and everything, but I don't trust either Bader or Tyler Taylor at the plate anymore. Like, not that I really trust them a ton in the first place, but they're not. Like, the defense is very important. So I'm not saying they should definitely give McNeil their spots, but maybe Nimmo, maybe like they saw like Nimmo like took a step back defensively, and then he's not an option really anymore at center field. But like, I do trust Jeff's ability to play left field, but but like I don't know. I guess not. But one more thing. I wanted to actually share a thread. And I didn't take any screenshots, so I'm just going to read it off. This is from Good Fundies on Twitter. He just tweeted out like a thread of all the Mets' best moments from the past 10 days, not even from like the past like season. So the Mets have had just what is objectively the best, most fun, and outright historic 10-day stretch in franchise history, and perhaps even MLB history. Lindor's home run last night, as incredible as it was not even the biggest moments. I'm taking a crack at ranking them here. So number 9. Peterson went 7 innings pitched, 1 hit, 0 earned runs against the Milwaukee on game 160 to send the Mets back to Atlanta, controlling their own destiny.
Shit, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
Okay, so, yes, and we had I think we had Matt brought that. We were hanging out in the family when Matt brought down his TV, so we watched that on the small screen. So that was great. Number 8, Peterson and Garrett combined for 5 innings pitched, 1 hit to quiet the Phillies in Philadelphia in NLDS Game 1. I'd probably put Peterson out of that, but that's okay. Number 7, we didn't pull this one out, but Vientos' 2-run home run against Strom to tie the NLDS in the top of the 9th Philadelphia NLDS Game 1, which would be
Dog.
yeah, exactly. That was. I don't even think they mentioned that was the second home run in the game, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was second 2-run homer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Yeah. Number 6, combined award: Lindor walk, Iglesias single off Payamps, and Nimmo single, and Vientos single off Aaron Ansby in Game 1 of the NL wild card in the 5-1 fifth to give the Mets a 6-4 lead. Just that entire game, I just remember game like that like exemplified how just this team just full of like players that will refuse to quit, and that's amazing. Number 5, another combined award, like Alvarez, Lindor, Vientos, Nimmo, Alonso, Iglesias, Martinez, Marte get on base or hit sac flies in Game 1. I was driving to my girlfriend's place, so just listening the entire time. Like everyone was getting on base. Like there wasn't any home runs. Everyone just getting on base and just getting the job done. Just again, as Matt said, Francisco Lindor and friendship has been carrying the thing. Number 4, we start to get to the big ones now. In total control, Sean Manaea looked and acted like an ace, throwing 7 innings pitched, allowing 3 hits and 1 earned run and stiffing performance in NLDS Game 3. It was just 2-0 through the middle of the 6th, while Manaea gave the offense some breathing room against Nola. Nola, who's historically Mets killer. We're not really actually. I don't know why I said that, but
Hit or miss.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
He's had some good ones.
Yeah. And number 3, Lindor's grand slam. This was the 3rd biggest moment, and I agree with this list, by the way. Like, I don't agree with everything, but like I do agree this was the 3rd biggest moment in the past 10 days. Home run off Hoffman, an all-time Mets moment, but not number 1 because it was not an elimination game or anything, and it was the 6th inning, obviously. Number 2, Francisco Lindor's 2-run homer off Johnson in the top of the 9th inning at Atlanta to give the Mets an 8-7 win in clutch playoffs. I was driving home from work. I literally screamed the loudest I've screamed like I get in the car by myself. I was like, "Let's fucking go!" I was so and another Johnson. I think that John said he was working from home that day, with our dad. So that was insane. And number 1, of course we know this one. A week ago today, as I mentioned, look the first 2-3 innings I was doing the pod, but however, I was able to watch the last couple of innings of John. Chest had gotten home from work that time.
We may never see baseball play like this again in our lives. Pete Alonso's home run in the top of the ninth against Devin Williams in a winner-go-home NL wildcard Game 3 to turn a 0-2 deficit into a 3-2 lead following Lindor and Nimmo reaching against Williams. This was all in the past 10 goddamn days. What?
I was saying some tough things about Pete Alonso before that home run.
Oh my God! It was
everyone was.
Yeah,
we were being
and it hasn't even just been like a one-off either. He's had 2 big home runs since then too.
Yeah.
There's one more thing I was going to add. Odell's. We always said that like part of the loudest moment that the Driscoll household has ever had was when Peyton Pritchard hit that half-court shot in Game 5. This was a very close number 2 though. Was that home run? Yeah, we were going nuts.
I was screaming in my apartment. I could not, because up to that point, Pete had just looked for all of September. Really, I mean, it was brutal.
Atrocious.
So he was. I love Pete, but he was the last person I was expecting to go up there and hit that, especially going up against Devin Williams. I mean, I can't believe it. I really can't. And that Lindor home run too against the Braves, it felt like that game was just the Mets, of course, right? Like you have this big, insane inning, and then the Braves come right back, and you're dead in the water. And then Lindor just goes the most casual 2-run homer to put you over the top. I can't believe what I've seen this team. Like I said at the start, it does not feel real what they're doing right now.
Exactly.
And with Lindor, the coolest thing, you know what? Not bat flipping is back to being cool. That guy is a stone cold killer, dude.
He wants to win it all.
This doesn't even matter to him. This is like June. He's like, yeah, home run. See ya. Oh.
And to do these things versus the Braves, who I hate, the Brewers, who I'm not very fond of, especially after the beginning of the year. I hate Rhys Hoskins. I hate that guy. And then the Phillies. It's just unbelievable. We're turning around. I see Ryan and Jack in the comment section getting ready for Game 5. We got to mentally prepare ourselves, guys. Going back to the bank, going to be real loud. Got to get ready.
Well, I think Dell's, you're a Jersey guy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, Celtics and Mets fan. I mean, Celtics, we have some experience in beating Philly. That's always fun. This one felt a little sweeter. There's nothing better than beating Philly.
That's why before you got on, I said the Phillies are every team in sports. I hate them the most.
Yeah.
So that's not like a bad take at all. But however, it's funny you say that because I did show John and Matt. I made I'm a big of a list guy. I made a list of my least favorite teams ever. I had the Phillies third behind the Lakers and the Yankees. So, so that's my take there. But we don't have a time limit on this. So so that's why I'm totally fine with us like going on about the Mets there but even if we did, I feel like I wouldn't carry that because this is what I care about the most. But awesome stuff, gentlemen. Game 1 Sunday nights against either LA or San Diego. I think that's Game 5 tomorrow, I believe. The Yankees and the Yankees playing tonight. So great stuff. So now we're going to the GM polls, and I'm honestly surprised that like this wasn't as big a topic of discussion on Twitter as it usually is. I feel like it is sometimes, but not all the time. But obviously, every single year, the NBA polls all most of the GMs or guys that work in the front office of how they think about the league heading into the season. So, there are certain ones. We didn't really talk about this ahead of time, but there are certain ones that are less surprising than others. Like people saying like, oh yeah, the Celtics are favored to win the title, 78%. That really wasn't surprising at all. Thunder to come out of the West, again, not so surprising. I guess one that'll go. Yeah, I guess we'll go into each position. Maybe not each position because we're not going to have many disagreements. But for point guard, it was Luka Doncic. Shooting guard, Anthony Edwards. Small forward, Jason Tatum. Power forward, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and center, Nikola Jokic. Del, do you have anything that you either disagree with or anything that you were surprised at there?
I was surprised they voted Tatum as the best small forward. I'll be honest. Like I think I put him. He was technically a power forward. We did the list on Pick a Side. We had him as a power forward because that's what he played. So I had Giannis above him. But I was surprised because from what you see on Twitter and what everyone tells you, fucking sucks, right? He's not top 10 player, all the dumb shit you hear. But I was surprised that it was overwhelmingly too, if I remember right. It was like close to 70%, 60%. Majority of people were taking him over KD, LeBron, right? I forgot who was listed at that small forward position because positions are so weird. But I was shocked that he was the overwhelming winner at that position.
Yeah, I'm shocked the guys that their job is to assess basketball talent, pick Jason Tatum because Bron Muse and Don Sabonis Muse on Twitter tell me he's an inefficient shot chucker and horrible. But I was also shocked about the percentage. I thought, LeBron would still get some of the respect votes. He's 39 and still putting up insane numbers. I thought the GMs would maybe favored him or maybe favored KD. But like you said, it's kind of hard to like put these guys in position because Tatum played majority of the 4 last year, and I believe KD played majority of the 4 as well. So yeah, I was shocked about how high the number of votes Tatum got.
I think you touched on it well. It's nice to have like a touch of reality. It's just like you see these guys who are professional like basketball assessors, and it's just like, yeah, okay, so I'm not crazy. I'm watching this like the same way, and not these like idiot Muse accounts on Twitter. I will say this is my conspiracy theory. When on the topic of burner accounts with Chris and Matt, I've told them that Joe Mazzulla definitely has a couple Jason Tatum hater accounts on Twitter, and he's just showing Tatum before games. He's like, "Yo, you seen this shit?" Like he's a psycho. I love it, but he's definitely doing something. It's gonna come out. But yeah, I'm glad they got that right.
100% agreed. I was listening to and I try not to trash other creators or anything. But I know that I was listening to Jason Timpf today. I've been listening to his lists of the top 25 players. He goes like, I want to see like his breakdown and everything. But like he said, like he'll take Jason Tatum for a full 82 games for like a full 82 game season over LeBron. But in like a playoff series that starts tomorrow, he's taking LeBron 100 times out of 100, and then which isn't necessarily wrong, but I do disagree with it. But like I'm not going to yell at you if you think otherwise. But he said oh yeah, just want you to imagine, close your eyes and have a picture of LeBron James playing next to Jaylen Brown, Drew Holiday, Derek White, Porzingis, Horford, Payne Pritchard, and Hauser, and tell me what you think. I'm like, okay, it really can't get much better than what it already is, and their defense gets worse, their playmaking gets better, and everything. LeBron's going to have his off shooting nights as well, so it's not like it would be different, but it can't be much better. They just won 64 games and went 16-3 in the playoffs. Like people are forgetting about how elite this team. Not forgetting because like they were disrespectful the entire time, but they just don't acknowledge how great this team was. Shooting guard, I'm a little surprised at. Maybe I don't know how GMs feel. Like I know the media, the media sweetheart is Anthony Edwards now. So like if you were to ask them, that like he's going to be ahead of people, most of them. I don't know who I take today. If I'm building a team for like the future, I'm taking Ants, but I don't know if I'm taking Ants over Donovan Mitchell or Devin Booker. Matt, what do you think about
that? Is this a projection for like this year?
I'm not sure what it is. Let me, if you want to
if it's a projection for this year, I totally like see where the GMs are coming from. Was Ant turning 23 this season, I believe, or maybe he's 20, maybe he's turning 22. I think he's turning 23. Like
he's turning 23, yeah.
And he showed you like every franchise cornerstone. Like like every franchise wants their guy to be healthy all year, play every game, play both sides of the ball, and be a playoff riser. And that's what Anthony Edwards showed you. It was the most successful season in Timberwolves franchise history since Garnett took him to the Western Conference Finals. And I think other than that, like that's the second most successful season ever for the Timberwolves. So I do get GM saying that he's the best shooting guard or will be the best shooting guard this year. Me personally, I think a little biasly, I have Jaylen Brown, elite two-way player, finals MVP. Nothing we haven't said on here before, but I totally get having Anthony Edwards one.
So
where's Donovan Mitchell in that? Where did he fall?
So the question is, who is the best shooting guard in the league? So so it doesn't. I don't think it's projecting. I think it's who is currently like now who is the best player. So Anthony Edwards 33%, Devin Booker 23%. Shai goes down to 20%. He's not a shooting guard. Like he brings up. He's a point guard. Like I hate when they do this. Like Luka's not a small forward. He's a point guard. Like what are we doing here? Like I guess they're practicing.
I see this list now.
Yeah.
Okay. This makes some sense.
Yeah.
Steph Curry's on a 2. What?
10% Steph Curry. Luka's yes. Yeah, Luka Doncic 7%, and then also receiving votes Jaylen Brown and Derek White. So very base, by the way, playing Derek White, but just and again, these are GMs, so like I'm not gonna trash them too much, but like what are we doing here, guys? Like there was also the one year that Anthony Davis got voted in as the best power forward and the best center in the league, which was really weird. But
I don't know how you don't have like a very laid out. These are the players that you could pick at this position. And I'm just looking now. Last year, Devin Booker was the leader in terms of best shooting guard. He was voted the best shooting guard, 63%. He dropped down to 23 after having like, I mean, the Suns obviously disappointed. He got swept in the first round. I get all that, but like, it's not like he sucked. Like he still put up a really great year.
Very good 13, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I get Ant gets the hype, and he deserves it. Ant's a hell of a player too, but Donovan Mitchell, I still have over Anthony Edwards right now. His offensive game is leaps and bounds better than Ant's. Defensively, Ant got it for sure. But what Donovan Mitchell gives you just consistently night in and night out, he's the best two to me.
I'm sure
You
that's
won't hear any arguments from All-American Hooper on that one. I think I heard him throw his phone through the wall earlier when he was reading, and Donovan Mitchell wasn't number one. We know Chris loves himself some Donovan Mitchell, and he's a Mets fan. So
And he's a Mets fan. That definitely boosted up.
yeah, but not many. I'm sure all agree on Giannis. I'm sure all agree on Jokic. Luka probably as well. As much as we love, no, I shouldn't say we love. Like in the past, we used to love Steph Curry. I'm back here, but
move your head in front of that jersey.
What was that?
Move your head in front of that jersey.
Yeah.
Hold on, Chris. I'm looking at this list. Did you have a vote for this? I saw Draymond Green got a vote for the best power forward in the league. Who is voting for Draymond Green in 2024?
I'm not aware. And also, again, Wemby's not. I guess Wemby played power forward at the beginning of the year, but I don't know.
Is the person who voted Sabonis, Depoy, and MVP and first team also voting for best power forward here too?
That's right. Yeah, I know the Jokic show star made like a video like on that guy about how like he probably voted for because like he probably grew up with Arvidas Sabonis actually.
Yeah.
I guess one we'll talk about. Like all four of us have talked about how great Joe Mazzulla is, but Joe receiving 0 votes on the coaches poll. John, what are your takes on that? Yeah, I'm not even gonna start with that yet.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those things where like you want to talk about how great the team is, and that's somehow like a negative on the coach. Doesn't he have like the highest winning percentage of a coach of all time? Like
It does, yeah.
And I know it's like it's one of those things where there's a lot of talent, and Joe is fortunate that there is a lot of talent and a lot of like relatively humble talent. Like the Celtics all have like pretty good guys that are willing to like buy in. They don't really have like massive egos. Like Tatum and Brown like were willing to take a step back this year because they had that one goal. So Joe is very fortunate in that sense, but it's not easy to win a championship. It's not easy to win 64 games and go 16-3 in the playoffs. So I don't think it should be held against him. I'm not saying that he should be number one, but like to not crack anything here is kind of ridiculous to me.
Yeah, Spo to me is the best coach. I think that's comfortable. I got Spo as number one, but if you look at the other votes that Mazzulla got, he was third for best manager / motivator. He was second for coach that runs the best offense, and fourth for coach who runs the best defensive schemes. But no votes for best coach in the NBA.
Yeah, that makes no sense.
I don't know. He seems pretty good to me.
Yeah, no, I know that Greeny always says that he thinks the best coaches are Eric Spoelstra, Mark Daigneault. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. And Joe Mazzulla, but they have Eric Spoelstra 69, Mark Daigneault 17, Steve Kerr 7.
Steve Kerr's crazy.
Yeah,
Kerr's crazy.
It's wild. Yeah, I don't think it's as wild as Mike Budenholzer receiving votes though. Maybe like I don't know who he would have received votes from. Like I guess maybe it's he probably got it from someone that used to work for the Hawks or something, maybe or the Bucks. That's maybe so one of those guys that still likes him. I do like Chris Finch though. I'm a fan of him. But I don't think. Yeah, I think outside of Spo, Daigneault, Finch, and Mike Malone, who I'm surprised didn't get any votes. Like I would say those are the only 4 guys that have arguments over Joe. That's my opinion. And I'm also surprised that Nick Nurse didn't get any votes too. But
Mike Malone, Loyola University legend.
Right.
I'm shocked he didn't get any votes. I'm shocked about Mike Budenholzer holder. How did he get votes over Mazzulla and Malone?
I don't know.
The Suns GM got a vote, I guess. He's
did Nick Nurse get any votes? Nick
Nurse didn't. I'm trying to. Excuse me. The only vote that Nick Nurse got, so he came in tied for 4th for best in-game adjustments. Anything else for Nick Nurse? Doesn't look like it's here. Yeah. So one of the interesting, in-game, we'll talk about in-game adjustments real quick because I know that's one thing that people always trash Joe for. Ty Lue 28%, Eric Spoelstra 24%. I agree with the Ty Lue one. I think that's one thing he's very good at. We saw it in the 2021 playoffs, like where he DNP'd Pat Bev. Okay, and I don't watch the film for enough of these guys. Like Daniel 17 makes sense. Rick Carlisle 7, Taylor Jenkins 7, Nick Nurse 7, also receiving votes. Chris Finch, our guy Will Hardy, and Mike Malone. So. Yes, Eric Spoelstra 43 last year's a big fall off. I'm wondering why that's. I guess the Heat didn't go as far in the playoffs this year. I'm assuming that's probably why. But yeah, judging coaching is pretty subjective. But at the same time, what does Joe Mazzulla have to do to get his respect? I feel like the Celtics have to the Celtics have to get worse roster wise, and then they still stay the same. I feel like it's maybe not stay the same, but still go far. I feel like it's the only way, but. At the same time, Brad Stevens never won a coach of the year, so yeah, it's just the whole thing is just very flawed, obviously.
I think Joe would have to win with a massive injury. Like maybe if Kristaps Porzingis didn't really play much of the playoffs. I think
that would be crazy.
That would be nuts. I don't know how they'd pull that off, but I think they already did. Chris, if there was a category for biggest whiner, I think Nick Nurse would get 100% of the votes. So maybe he could win that one next year.
Nick Nurse, Doc Rivers, Rick Carlisle would be pretty out there. Yeah, especially if it was a bunch of Knick fans voting on that poll. Maybe Joel Moran would be the one in front of there.
I do think Joe's starting to, because his first year, I feel like was very divided, not just among Celtics fans, but just the NBA in general. But I do feel like after the second year, a lot of people start to like Mazzulla more. It's more so just because of just his personality, what he says at the presser, right? Like he's either talking about the town or he's saying how, Jason Tatum, everyone says how much he sucks. He's like, he should be grateful for that. And I kind of agree. It's screwed up to think, but if you're that good of a player. So I feel like over time, people are naturally going to start gravitating towards him. And over the years, I wouldn't be surprised. Celtics win 65 games, win a championship. He gets a coach of the year or ends up being, number 1 or 2 on one of these lists.
I agree. You just listed all those things. I still think the craziest one is doing a backflip in front of Marcus Smart and the media saying you can't do that. And it just keeps on walking. He's like, what the? Yeah.
Yeah, he's hilarious, man.
Yeah. The others I wanted to talk about.
Best defender.
I don't have the one in front of me. Yeah, we could definitely do
that. Do you know who won, Chris?
You
want to take a guess?
I
have it up.
Okay,
I have it up.
I didn't have it up. Do you guys want to take a guess? Yeah, I have one, but
go ahead, Chris.
I think it was. I'm assuming it was either Wemby or AD. Oh no, it wasn't AD actually. Yeah, it was Wemby, right?
It was Wemby, at 40%.
40, really?
Yeah, pretty high. Last year it was Giannis at 40%, and this year he's at 7.
Where was AD? Because I remember there was a big talk on Twitter that he wasn't.
AD was tied for 5th with Giannis and Herb Jones at 7%.
80 tied for 5th is insane.
Yeah, that's insane. It went Wemby at 40, Bam, Gobert, and Drew Holiday at 10%, and then Giannis, AD, and Herb Jones at 7%.
And also receiving votes: Alex Caruso, Jaden McDaniels, Marcus Smart.
Who's voting? I love Marcus Smart. Who's voting for? Probably the same guy that's voting for Sabonis.
Brad Stevens was voting for Marcus Smart.
Yeah, of course. I don't think Wemby is the best defense player in the league. I don't think he's top. I think that Gobert, AD, and Bam are all comfortably better than him. As great as Wemby's shot blocking is, I don't think he's as disciplined on defense as the other ones. He's physically a threat. I had Hoop Venue on the show a few weeks ago, and he said he doesn't think he's going to be getting as many blocks in the future just because people are going to be more afraid of driving him, which I agree with. So maybe this year, if you're projecting, you want to say Wemby's going to be number 1. I have zero issue with that. But as of today, from what I've seen, I think that Bam, Gobert, and especially AD are much better than Wemby. But I don't know what you guys think.
I don't have any problem with having those 3 guys over him. I do think by the end of this year, Wembanyama is going to be the best defender in the league. I think another year with Pop's coaching and then working with Chris Paul. And even a veteran like Harrison Barnes, a little more interior defense. Because you said it, a lot of people don't talk about it, but there were flaws in Wembanyama's game. a defensive side. Obviously, he's an elite shot blocker. He's decent on the perimeter, but he's 7'5". Like, he's not going to be the best on the perimeter. But I think another NBA season under his belt, he's only going to get better. So, I think by the end of this year, he's going to be the best defender.
No problems there. And I think there was one more that I want to talk about. Oh yeah, favorite to win MVP. Yeah, so Shea was favorite to win MVP. I haven't given my predictions yet. I'll give mine now, but I was waiting to do my to do my article on primetimesportstalk.com. But Del, so, yeah, did you give your pick yet for MVP? And or who are you leaning towards if you haven't yet?
We haven't done our predictions there. We'll probably do that in the next week or so. SGA's, I think, popular pick. We got into this big debate on the show because I said it's championship or bust for the Thunder, right? I get they're young. SGA's 26, J-Dub's 22, Chet 20 years old, 21 or whatever. But SGA, I think it's valid that he's the MVP favorite. You're going to get 30 points from him a night, right? He's going to average 5-6 assists, 5-6 rebounds. They're going to win 60+ games. So if you have that, plus with all the other talent you have, why aren't you championship or bust? But anyway, I think SGA is a great early favorite. I still think Tatum had one of these years. It has to be Tatum. I don't know what year it's going to be. It feels like if it's any year, oddly enough, coming off a championship, all of the shit he took in the offseason, whether it was from his finals performance or really his playoff performance in general, plus the nonsense that went on in the Olympics, this feels like the most motivation he's ever going to have. So those two, and then also I think Giannis is going to have a great year coming off the bad year he had last year with Dame, where they both got banged up. Of course, lost in the first round of the playoffs.
I think the biggest thing.
Sorry, go ahead, John.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you're good.
With SGA, I think he should be the favorite. For the reasons Dell's mentioned. I think with Tatum, it's last year, you saw the stats go down a little bit because better talent around you. You're gonna have to give up the ball a little bit more. I think this year you might see those stats creep up a little bit more back to where they were, especially with Porzingis being out till January. So you're going to get more shots. Granted, you do have to share the ball with Brown, White, Drew. But I think if Tatum can get off to that hot start in the first 3 months and really I don't want to say pad those stats, but that's what the MVP voters are going to look for. They're not going to really care. It sounds funny, but 27, 9, and 5 doesn't really do it anymore, which is crazy to say. But if you can creep up closer to that 30 amount, maybe get 9.5, 5 or 6, then and again, I hate looking at just stats because I don't really think that tells the whole story. But that's what kind of the voters will look at. And if you pair that with his already elite defense, he might have a shot.
Yeah, it's crazy that neither of you guys mentioned Jokic, even though. Dels, I don't know about you, but I know, John, you think he's the best player in the world right now, and I agree. But I think just he won it last year, and I think so what is it, 3 out of the last 4 years? It should have been 4 in a row. I think there's totally going to be voter fatigue, so I don't think he's going to win this year, even though he'll probably be the best player in the world again. As much as I hate to say this, like you said, John, it's really about stats, and it is a regular season award. If Joel Embiid stays healthy, he has a very good chance to win it. The Sixers are going to be way better than they were last year. But the thing is, he has to stay healthy. He was, I don't know if when he went down, if he was the favorite, but he was definitely top 2 in MVP voting. I also think again, it's about the stats and how good your team is. Luka has a high chance. I think he came in second last year, if I'm not mistaken. He came in third. Was Giannis second?
Yeah, no, Shea was second.
Oh, yeah. Not Giannis. Shea, yeah, you're right. Giannis got hurt. So yeah, I think it's going to be, put injuries aside, turn injuries off. I think it'll be one of those two if it's not SGA.
Yeah, all valid picks. As much as we say that as much as we say that and winning really doesn't matter anymore. I feel like it's not that it doesn't matter, but I feel like it's not really factored in as much. I think what's factored in as much, honestly, is the advanced stats. Based on what we've seen, it's I think it's crazy. I think outside of Embiid and someone else, I think it was Harden or someone else. I think it was so I was those guys and a couple others. It's usually those that end up with the highest PER. Raptor, those are usually the ones that get the award. I don't think the Jokic is going to win this year because it would be his 4th and his 5th year. especially after disappointing playoffs. He played pretty well, but it wasn't up to it. But wasn't like up to his MVP standard though. Yeah, so Embiid is a valid pick. Shea is obviously a very valid pick as well. I'm going to pick Giannis though. I think basically it is a narrative driven award as well. So I think that Giannis is give everything that the Bucks went through last year. Excuse me. Obviously they had to trade a couple of their championship pieces. Brought in Dame. Dame was going through a lot of stuff as well. Like I mentioned, that I think he's going to have a great season. So I think the Bucks are going to be a top 2, 3. Like, going to be either the second or the third seed in the East, and Giannis is going to be playing as good as he has been. Which I said this last year about Giannis. I feel like I think everyone acknowledges that he's like a top 3 player in the league, but no one really talks about him as much. I think part of that is because he hasn't gotten past the first round the past couple of years, and the second rounds in 2022, even though he was phenomenal against the Celtics in 2022. So, but as far as it goes for like actually watching guys play, I think that Giannis is very clearly second. I think Jokic is 1. I think that Giannis is 2, and I think there's a big gap in third. Like people will put Luka and Shea in that tier. I do not think that either of those guys are on Giannis's tier. To be more specific, tier 1 Jokic, Giannis, tier 3 Luka, Tatum, Shea. Those are my guys, which I haven't made my list public yet, but I think that's pretty common knowledge based on if you hear my contents. But good stuff. So we got a good amount. We got a good amount of time left, but so last night and into this morning, this afternoon, I watched episode 1 of the Starting 5 documentary. I was kind of upset because like I thought it was one of those things where it was going to come out every week, but they just released all 10 episodes in one thing, which I was hoping to just do. We would do like a little series where we just talked about it for 5 minutes a show, but that's okay. We'll just talk about episode 1 today. Maybe we can do the rest of the documentary next week or the week after. But they just introduced. They took a deep dive into LeBron. They took a relatively deep dive into Jimmy. Some things about Tatum, and they talked about Ants for literally the last 30 seconds of episode 1. So, and I don't mean to be the teacher that like calls anyone out for saying like, oh, did you like asking questions like, did you read last night? But did anyone actually like take a good look at the documentary? Because I know it was pretty late when it came out.
Yeah, I watched it.
I watched the first episode.
Oh, good, perfect. Yeah, so we can actually have a discussion. Yeah.
I go first.
Go ahead.
It was cool because LeBron is very much like Tom Brady to me. I'm a Jets fan. I'm a Celtics fan. So I hated Tom Brady and LeBron growing up, but as I've gotten older and as they've gotten older, I've grown to like kind of love them, right? Like especially Brady when he went to the Bucks, like he left that New England just feel of just complete villain and became more of a human being. And I feel like LeBron as well. It was just more than anything, it's cool to see the human aspect of these guys. But what I like from the show is you see the human aspect, but you also see a lot of basketball too, right? Like I think one of the issues I had with like receiver and quarterback was it was too much of their personal life and not enough like what I saw on the field in between the plays and at the practice facility and stuff like that. So I guess more for LeBron. Jimmy Butler, you did see a lot of that, sort of like the dominoes and him at media day. But it's cool to see their personality shine, but also seeing what they're doing like on their day-to-day. Like they had like LeBron's whole like daily routine, like when he's getting up, when he's getting massaged and what he's doing before the game and playing in Denver and saying, use this as motivation, all like the regular stuff you could kind of see on social media. But I like seeing the, kind of like the introspective of it all.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's super cool to see. Like obviously on national televised games, they get like the in-game interviews with the coach, or like they do like the little interview. Like, I mean, rest in peace to the TNT crew, but the TNT crew would interview somebody after the game. But like with this, you saw like LeBron like talking about how much he hates the minutes restriction with his like assistant coaches and stuff, and that's just like stuff you won't see if we weren't watching this. Yeah, and like you said about like growing up to love LeBron, like I hated LeBron growing up. Like he was, he made it to the finals like 8 years in a row in the East or whatever. Just insane. Like it was every year like who was going to play LeBron in the finals, and as a Celtics fan, obviously I hated that. But now it's just like I think he's like unironically one of the funniest people in the world. Like him getting ready for Halloween and getting all his makeup on, and then like doing like the silly voice. And then like his son comes in, and you can just tell he's like embarrassed of his goofy dad, and it's just like that's one of the greatest basketball players of all time, and he's embarrassing his son. It's pretty funny. But yeah, I'm really excited to watch the rest of it. Especially because Tatum's in it. You know, it would be really cool. But also to see the human aspect, like Dell said.
Yeah, hand up. I told Chris today at work, I was texting him, I said I'll watch episode 1 on the bus ride home today, and I spent the entire hour watching Francisco Lindor and Mets clips. So got a little distracted. So I will be more prepared next week. But to touch on what Dells and Matt said, I hated LeBron so much for what he did to the Celtics for so many years. But yeah, he just, I don't know. Maybe it's just maturity. Maybe it's just like that he's not playing the Celtics as much now. But like, Matt, you're right. He is so funny. And watching him on the Olympic team, like rooting for LeBron on a team that I like was rooting for, like I loved it. I was like, oh my God, no. I was like, oh, so this is why people love LeBron. He's so good. Like this guy's awesome. But yeah. Chris, I promise I will be more prepared next week.
That's okay. Next week I think I'm going to be riding solo because that'll be game 4 of the NLCS. But that's okay. We'll talk about that later. It's funny how we talk about LeBron's like the funniest person ever, and how we like LeBron's like grown on us, because the whole like LeBron like only reading like always having a picture of him reading like the second or third page in a book. I feel like I'd get annoyed at that, but like now I'm like, okay, that's actually the funniest thing ever. Like he just picks out a book and just reads it. like who does that? That's
because he does not need to read. He's LeBron James. Yeah. He could just have somebody read for him. He's like, yo, tell me what this book says.
Yeah, exactly. Anything else? And yeah, I know there was like talks about Jimmy Butler. Like obviously it was pretty cool, like seeing him, which we've talked about Jimmy Butler multiple times, illy on this show before, but like at the end of the day, like he is someone you do have to appreciate his competitiveness. I think part of it is bitterness too, because like for all the things that we see about people don't like Tatum because he's corny, even though Jimmy Butler is obviously a lot more corny than Tatum is, in my opinion, with all the stuff that he does. But I digress there. But yeah, like just for the first episode, it was pretty cool seeing Jimmy Butler, like again, like in his competitive nature. Like obviously, like they showed like the highlight clips from like 2014, which that's some pretty underrated longevity from Jimmy Butler, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Like we talk about Horford and LeBron and KD, obviously, but yeah, for like a solid 10 years, Jimmy Butler has been like one of the. I guess Jimmy really didn't become like a top 15, 20 player until like 2017, probably, but like he's probably like he's been like consistently like in that range since then. But yeah, he eventually became a player prizer, but who knows? Like I'm sure like toward the end of the season, like if the Celtics match up with the Heat again, we won't be talking this nicely about Jimmy Butler. But it was but watching like as Matt mentioned, like watching that, and Dell's mentioned, like watching like that in close version of like them is pretty cool. Cool. And I guess we could just finish off the show by just talking about they didn't dive too deep into Tatum, but they talked about him enough. I'm very happy they did, so we can just finish off the episode like that. Obviously they showed they showed Tatum's relationship with Deuce, which is awesome. The name of our fantasy basketball league is the Deuce Tatum Fan Club. So that's that. Yes, obviously we're a big fan of him there. One thing I didn't realize is Tatum's relationship with his dad. Like we didn't like. I feel like I never really heard about it. Like I've heard that he has like a complicated relationship with his dad. But yeah, he said like he taught him everything he knew, and he's actually the one that reached out to Drew Hanlon, who's his shooting coach now, which I thought was pretty cool and something I was not aware of at all.
Yeah, I thought they said it was his mom who did it.
Oh, okay, it was his mom. That's right. Yeah, it was his mom. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I don't know, Tatum he's like so different from a lot of superstars because his personal life is so like sheltered. Like he doesn't talk anything. Like he just had a second child, didn't say a word, doesn't talk about, his relationship with LMA. Like everything is very to the side when it comes to all of that, even when it comes to Deuce's mother. And listen, that's on him. He could live his life how he wants to, but I'm excited to see to learn more about him, honestly, more because he gives most of the time, like kind of bland answers at the press conference. He never really shows a ton of emotion, right? So they gave us a very small snippet in this one. Like they showed him and Deuce playing on like the little, basketball thing or whatever. But I've seen some clips on Twitter of like him and Jaylen Brown in the court. I've seen like the interview with Joe Mazzulla. So I think in the upcoming episodes, we'll get some better content from him.
100%.
The biggest takeaway I had about sorry, not to cut you off, Chris. The biggest takeaway I had about the Tatum thing was he started trading with Drew Hanlon when he was 14, and it was like, oh yeah, he's the number one player in the nation at 14, getting up at 6 a.m. to shoot 500 shots.
Yeah.
When I was 14 years old, I would like in the summertime, if I woke up before like 10:30, I would be pissed, and he's getting up at 6 a.m. taking 500 shots. So it's insane the different levels, it's like light years ahead of a high Division I player, and it's just like unbelievable the different levels that this game is, and I think this documentary is going to show a lot of it.
100% agreed. Yeah, Matt. One thing that you mentioned multiple times, and I've agreed with you, but like I haven't really felt it until like this past week. But you said like I want this podcast to explode so you can finally escape corporate America. And I really didn't feel that till this week because, first of all, we'd have been able to just watch the Mets game with zero issue because that would be considered work. Second of all, I would have been able to watch this documentary before school without having to go to school. So, if I was able to do this full time, that would be very, very nice. But however, I think we're going to need to wait a little bit longer for now. But yeah, we just got to keep at it for now.
Yeah, give it like 2 or 3 more episodes. We'll be there. We'll be all right.
Yeah. Excuse me.
Rob Manfred scheduled game 2 for 4:00 on a Monday.
Crazy.
I would just like
It's
to
Columbus Day. Columbus Day.
I would just like yeah, but I have to work.
I also have to
Oh,
work.
that's tough. That's tough.
4:00 on a Monday.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
It's in California. That's 1:00 in the afternoon.
It's also a day game after a night game in the playoffs. What are we doing?
I didn't even think about that.
What are we
Jesus
doing,
Christ.
Rob Manfred?
Yeah. So yeah, luckily I have a workshop that day with other teachers. Yeah, I would definitely not be staying that late because yeah, all that. But okay.
Chris, sorry, one more thing.
Yes.
One more thing. John, you mentioned Rob Manfred. Everybody hates like almost every single sports commissioner. And I was told by my hockey friends that Bettman is the worst commissioner in sports. To be in that conversation is truly remarkable by Rob Manfred. He has made mistake after mistake after mistake. He's tried to shrink the game as much as he can, and it's ridiculous. But sorry, I just had to get that off my
wild
chest.
card game. It's the NLCS, and it's at 1:00.
I don't get it
on the West Coast.
I don't get it.
Yeah, 0 cents. All right, great stuff, gentlemen. Dels, thanks so much for coming on the show. If you want to, do you want to give some plugs before I sign off?
Yeah, shout out to you guys. Appreciate you having me on. If you guys want more sports content, pick a side. Cover basketball, basketball, and football. Every once in a while, we'll get like 2 minutes of Mets or Yankees talk. But yeah, appreciate you guys having me on.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks for coming on again. Yeah, maybe we'll have you on again in a few weeks if things go well. But yeah, so John, Matt, as always, thanks so much for coming on. To catch other episodes of the All American Hoops podcast, follow All American Hooper on all social media platforms, including Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Subscribe to @SportsFluent to catch every episode on Thursdays at 8:00. Also catch a bunch of other shows, including the Creator Hour, which is Fridays at 8:00. Fluent and Chill with Tony and Chilltown, which is 8:00 on Tuesdays. So and many others. Those are just a couple that I mentioned. But yeah, this has been another episode of the All American Hoops podcast. Sign off like I usually do, quoting Chilltown. Put on the suit, drink water, don't drink and drive, and call your mother. Have a great night, everyone.
Let's go, Mets.